As a cosplayer, the internet's going to tell you that a Dremel is your best friend. But what if the internet is wrong? If this is your first time here, let me introduce myself. I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield. Now in a moment we'll get to the details of what this thing is right here, but let's just start off with the important stuff and take a look at this thing tearing through EVA foam. So here's the final piece, all cut out. Let's take a closer look at one of the edges. And this tool does a pretty darn good job of getting nice, clean cuts, very similar to an incredibly sharp box cutter. And the reality is it's a lot better than pretty much my cuts of the box cutter because I can never get my blade perfectly sharp. And you might be wondering, how well can this thing cut curves? Let's find out. I'd say that's pretty good. What about actually cutting on a bevel? That worked pretty well. I don't know how easy it is to kind of get it to stay at an angle, but if you had some sort of jig, you could probably cut very specific angles really nicely with this tool. So what the heck is this tool right here? Well, this guy in particular is the Dewalt DCS356. It is one of the higher end tools in this particular line, which is generally known as an oscillating multi-tool, and you'll see why it's called that in just a minute. Now, there are other cheaper versions of this tool out there. Other companies make them as well, both corded and cordless versions, and they're all roughly the same basic thing. And in fact, many of them use the same type of universal tool attachment for attaching different end pieces to it. Because in a lot of ways, this guy can do very similar things to what a Dremel can, but it doesn't have a rotary motion to it. The name Oscillating Multitool refers to the fact, if you look up close when this thing is running, the blade or whatever attachment's on here, like I said, it doesn't spin around like many tools. It goes back and forth very, very fast. Just a few degrees of motion back and forth, and it oscillates, depending on the tool, from like speed settings and whatnot, 10,000 to 20,000 oscillations per minute. And it's that rapid vibration that allows whatever tool is on there to do its job. Now, oscillating multi-tool is not something you commonly find in woodworking shops or person's homes because it's not really a general purpose tool, but it's very popular among professional home contractors and professionals who build things and work in industry and all that kind of stuff. And they're really great for very interesting and unique cutting jobs. This blade that I have on here right now is more or less a toothless blade for cutting relatively flat, soft materials, in particular carpet, roof shingles, things like that. But I found that it works fantastic at cutting EVA foam. That's what I'm using in here, obviously, for cosplay armor. Well, that's awesome. This guy can cut through foam really well, but we all know with our foam armor pieces, we like to kind of give a little bit of beveled edge to them, just to kind of clean up the corners so they're not quite as sharp and as distinct. And you know, the Dremel's great for that with the sanding Dremel, but you know what? This guy's probably better. You see that? Let's watch that again. Now, the one thing I really like about sanding with the Oscillating Multi-tool versus the Dremel is the fact that with this tool here, it feels like you're actually in control of things. The Dremel with the rotary motion, it almost feels like you're kind of restraining a wild animal ready to go after chasing after prey. Everybody knows what that means. Whereas that doesn't happen with the Oscillating Multi-tool. When using the sanding pad here, it doesn't really want to pull itself in either direction, so you can very carefully move it along the surface you're working with. And it's also very great at just sanding down flat surfaces as well, especially if you need to get in the corners of things. So in woodworking projects where you need to sand up to a corner, this tool is great for it because of the triangle shape here. When you're using the toothless cutter that I have back here, it doesn't really pull itself forward either. It does want to kind of dive deeper into the foam, so be advised of that. There is a little bit of you having to hold the tool up, but it's really easy to do even with one-handed. And that's why you actually see over here, I've got a scrap piece of EVA foam under what I was cutting, because even though this particular blade here can't really cut through hard materials, it can damage a wood surface like what you see on the workbench at the moment. And as a bonus, not being able to cut through hard materials, you can use something like a piece of aluminum as a guide to allow this blade to kind of get a nice, straight, clean cut. Now, the last thing you're probably going to wonder about is the pricing of this tool. Now, I know the details at the time this video is being recorded for the Dewalt line, but things changed quite a bit. And of course, other companies make the same basic tool as well, so you may want to consider getting it from them if you're not already invested in the Dewalt 20-volt max battery line like I am. So this guy right here, the DCS356, comes in a bare tool format, so that's just a tool with a few basic blades, currently priced at $129.99 at Lowe's.com. That price does go up and down a little bit because of different specials and things like that, so that very easily could be different by the time you're looking at it. A complete kit of this, which is a tool plus a battery, a charger, and a whole bunch of accessories, currently is going for $199 at Lowe's, but I've seen as low as $170 at Lowe's. So I think about these tools, as pricing changes quite a bit. This tool is fully compatible with the 20-volt max line, so like I said, if you already have a bunch of batteries like I do, the bare tool is probably the best option to go with. Same thing as if you have another manufacturer, it's probably best to pick up their version tool because most likely, if it's a cordless version, it's going to be compatible with their batteries. There's also an atomic version that DeWalt makes. This is a Home Depot exclusive in the United States, so once again, you would need a 20-volt max battery for that. There's also a corded version which you can get. I'm not terribly interested in the corded tools, but that is an option for you if you don't want to buy batteries. I like the freedom of cordless tools. But in general, the corded tools are a little bit cheaper than the cordless tools for DeWalt anyway. So this little switch you see down here in the base, this is the difference between the Dewalt DCS356 and the Dewalt Atomic Oscillating Multi-tool. And while both of these tools do have a variable speed trigger that allows you to control the speed, the 356 here has 3 different speed settings which limits the maximum top speed of the tool at a given setting. So therefore, if you want a little bit more control over your work, the DCS356, while it is more expensive, will give you that control. You may still see some Dewalt DCS355 tools out there. Those are the previous generation of the Dewalt DCS356, and they do not have the 1, 2, 3 speed setting switch. And in fact, they're almost identical to the Atomic line. So I'm not 100% sure if that's what happened. Some people have noted that perhaps this old 355 tool was basically redesigned just slightly and tweaked with a little bit different speed settings to become the new Atomic line tool for Home Depot. As for what all the tools are and what kind of cool things they can do, we should check YouTube for that, because there's a lot of pro contractors who know all the neat tricks of these tools. And like I said, it's kind of designed to be a very similar functionality to the Dremel. The one thing this thing can't do, the Dremel really can, is the Dremel can do rotary sanding, which is useful if you got to sand a curved surface, whereas this guy only has like a flat option. As far as I can tell, it only has flat options for sanding. I'm not aware of like a rotary sanding feature where it has like a sanding drum. That may be a thing, but like I said, I haven't seen it, but there's tons of tools out here for these guys, and just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So with that out of the way, thank you guys all for watching. Once again, I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield. Hopefully you found this little discussion kind of interesting. I absolutely love this tool. I was kind of on the fence buying it for my new collection of power tools when I got my house. This is actually the last one I bought. And as I was looking at it, I'm like, I bet this would work really well for cosplay stuff, wouldn't it? And that's why I bought it. So anyway, I'm happy with it. We're good to go from there. So if you like these kind of videos with more cosplay, 3D printing, tabletop gaming, and I don't know what else I'm going to come up with. I was talking about business math a few weeks ago. Hit subscribe, hit that like button. You know how that works. I have no idea why I'm so enthusiastic about this part. I'm usually not. So thank you guys all for watching, and have a great week.